Welcome back to the ABP Podcast on the Enneagram personality types, where we ask big questions about small numbers. After playing rock, paper, scissors, it was decided that I would be the host for this episode. Today's special guest,
Danara Moore.
Hi, Danara.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us today. To start off, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? Maybe start with your role on campus, hobbies you enjoy, and what Enneagram type you are.
Sure. So I am the Dean of Experiential Learning on campus. So I get to teach a lot of fun classes and all kinds of shenanigans. And my hobbies, Myah, I love really bad reality TV.
Okay.
I do. My other hobbies, I guess, hanging out with my husband, my dogs, and yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
And Enneagram,
Yes.
I am an 8.
An 8. Okay. That is interesting. I'm also an 8.
Uh-oh, the challengers.
Yes, this is going to be a fun episode, hopefully.
Or we'll get in a fight about it?
Yeah.
Is that what's happening? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So before we dive deeper into more questions, I would like to give the listeners a brief description of what the Enneagram Type 8 is. So Enneagram 8s are known as the challenger, like you said previously. They are defined by their desire to be powerful and to avoid being vulnerable at any time, really. 8s usually present themselves as confident and assertive. People usually view them as very argumentative and intimidating. Like I said before, I am an 8, and I've been told that this is the way I come off sometimes. Would you say this describes you?
Would I say it describes me?
Or do people perceive you in that way?
I do know that, yes, unfortunately, I do get those quintessential type 8, perceptions from people.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's great to be an 8. Am I right?
It's definitely the Enneagram that I feel like people least want.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? I don't know. I feel like it's the most negative one.
I think it is. And I think people are scared a little bit. Like, oh, you're a type 8.
But we're lovers.
Mm-hmm. We are deep down when we let our guard down.
That's
really
true. That's very true.
All right. So let's move into the first question. Okay. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert, or maybe somewhere in between?
I would say in my younger years, extrovert. Could not be with people enough. 24/7, always wanted to be around people.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's with age, maturity, I don't know, but certainly my personality has shifted a bit into being much more of an introvert. Although I come off always as an extrovert.
Yeah.
My needs, though, I need to recharge on my own. I need my alone time. But generally, I do get my energy from people. So technically, if you're looking at the definition, I would still be an extrovert, but I definitely recharge alone, lone zone. That's what I call it.
Yeah. I kind of like
lone
that.
zone.
I'm going to have to remember that.
Yeah, you just tell somebody, nope, lone zone in today, and then they leave you alone.
Yeah. So how does being a extrovert-introvert type play into your work, like in the workplace, dealing with people all the time, constantly? Right.
So what that means is when I go home, I'm not coming back out.
I love that.
I mean, and it does confuse people at times because they expect that, because I am extroverted and I am open and all of those things, that I'm like that all of the time.
Yeah.
But if you come to my house, I'm probably on the couch. I'm probably watching TV. I'm probably just doing something really chill because I'm kind of drained after the day, after you're interacting with everybody and answering questions and all of that. So it's not that I don't enjoy it, but it's more kind of like I have my limit of all right, I can't anymore. I just need to, go dark for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I could totally agree with you on that. I feel the same way sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the ways.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's move into the next question. Type 8's core fear is being seen as weak and powerless. I know sometimes this is how I feel. As an 8, do you think this is a fear of yours as a type 8?
This is the part of the type 8 description that, initially I didn't feel I could relate to. But then, once I started thinking about it, the piece that stuck out to me was the idea about feeling weak, because those aren't the terms that I would like put it in, where I'm like, oh, I don't care if I am weak, right?
Yeah,
like, I don't,
yeah.
But I think it's more where that surfaces for me is I don't want to appear that I can't do something or appear that I need help.
Yep.
It's very difficult for me to ask for help even when I need it. And partially, it's complicated because partially it's that I don't want to appear like a burden.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
maybe that is appearing weak if you think about burden being weak. I don't know. But I don't want to appear as a burden. And I also often, and this is a very type 8 answer as I'm saying it,
Okay.
is like, it's going to be way easier for me to just figure out on my own
Yeah.
than to ask for help. And then maybe someone says no.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're rejected, and that, it's,
And then you go through like a whole nother stage of like fears.
yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, I would say that does come up. It's different than the description, but it still applies
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's interesting to me, the way you explained it. So how would you say you cope with not necessarily being seen as weak, but do you have ways to go around it, maybe to avoid it?
Yes, I do. Never asking for help. Just joking. Just joking. Just joking.
Hey, it would solve all the problems.
Yeah, exactly. Coping, I think that it's funny. Okay, let me think about even how to answer this, because coping sounds like such a healthy thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not. Maybe it's just you're figuring it out as you go. But I feel like coping sort of necessitates, some planning or something.
Yeah.
For me, coping with this is, well, number one, rationalizing it, right? So you go into another part of your brain, another part of your thinking, and you say like, okay, Danara, you physically, okay, great example for this. Our dryer broke at home, and so I was going to fix it. And I did, by the way, successfully. That's not something my husband would ever just like elect to do. He's like, Danara, don't do that. Call somebody. Call the people who fix dryers. And I'm like, why would I do that? I have a YouTube video right here. I can do this. It's no problem.
Yeah.
All right. So I go through the whole deal, and it's fine. I'm not asking for help, although the whole time I'm super annoyed that my husband isn't helping me, but I haven't asked for help. Okay.
Yeah.
And then eventually, it comes time where you got to lift the drum out of it. And I'm like, okay, all right, now's the time. Okay, I got to ask for help. And so it's really, the coping is recognizing the limits of when I might like physically hurt myself. And I don't know that I have those limits as much emotionally or mentally. So because it's not quite right in front of me. I think I could call it if it really got to the point where I needed to really stop and be like, okay, you have to ask for help. But I am good at regulating myself in that way. But anyway, that's a silly example, but it is true. And the dryer is fixed and humming, and I replaced all the parts, and it's beautiful.
There we go. As
It's
8s, I
amazing.
mean, we
That's
always
right.
want a challenge.
Exactly.
And so you take on the challenge.
Precisely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Personally, I think this one will be interesting.
Okay.
If you were to be an Enneagram type, which type would it be? Or would you stay a type 8?
Ooh.
Yeah. I know we talked about this morning a little bit
Right.
briefly, but I am interested in what you have to say.
Ooh. So initially, I didn't think there was an option to stay a type 8.
I mean, I may have made that up. I don't know.
I'm all about it, right? So let's say there's not an option.
Okay.
If there wasn't an option, I think I would probably pick a 7, which is the enthusiast.
Yes.
Because, man, like, who doesn't love the enthusiast?
Yeah.
I mean, well, actually, you know what? Positivity can be toxic at times. So every type has their drawbacks, I suppose.
For sure.
But I would say, as much as I dislike parts of the 8's personality, and there are things even about myself I find frustrating, and I don't know if you experience this, I feel bad for people sometimes having to deal with me, or I will explain to them to be like, okay, this is what's happening right now with me, and here's how you manage this in the best way with me.
Yeah, no, totally.
Which is really, to some people, it does feel confrontational or aggressive, and I just want to say, whoa, no, it's not that at all. I'm literally, we're having a conversation. This is direct communication, and we're just talking about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
No hard feelings, like nothing. Just know that I'm going to say these things, and then this is how you should respond if you want it to be positive. If you don't, then it can go this way.
Yeah.
You choose.
Yeah.
You okay?
No, I totally agree.
So yeah, there are definitely things I dislike about that, but at the same time, there is something within me that is fiercely independent. I desire autonomy. I am incentivized with the more things I get to do, be in charge of, run by myself.
Yeah.
Or maybe not completely by myself, because I also am a big proponent that the more people, the better, right? Like, I'm not the full picture. I can't do everything by myself.
Yeah.
But I want to pick my team, right?
Exactly.
You want to pick your
be
team.
in control.
Exactly. You want to pick the team because there's that strategy element that exists where it's you have a picture of what needs to happen and you know how to do that, but you need it to be the way that you need it to be in order for it to happen. You will absolutely deliver. People may not understand your process throughout, which is, that's a whole other podcast to talk about. But yeah, so I would say an 8. When I was little, my mom always has told me this story throughout the years. I was 4 years old. She had taken us on vacation to Chicago, and we were riding the bus around Chicago, and wherever we were at the time, it was just very, very busy, and tons of people were trying to get on this bus, and little 4-year-old Danara was throwing a fit because my mom wanted to pick me up to take me onto the bus. No. All these people waited in line for 4-year-old Danara to walk up the stairs by herself.
Yeah. And
I think that's probably the best description. So there's something where it's like, okay, well, I was like that as a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm a 41-year-old now. Nothing much has changed,
Yeah. No, that's cool. I love this story too. All right. So I guess we can move on to the very last question.
Okay.
Do you find it hard to set boundaries, specifically as a professor, but also a mentor to others? And do you have a different set of boundaries you set outside of work?
I do not find it hard to set boundaries. As you also probably do not have trouble.
Yes.
I think 8s typically do not have trouble setting those, communicating those. I will say that I understand sometimes in a student-teacher sort of relationship or in class, it does intimidate people because it is so direct, or it's like, no, this is what we're doing, this is how it is. And I've learned over the years to be maybe a little softer depending on who it is and my approach, although I'm not great at that. But now, boundaries between work and home, it's interesting because of how much my work bleeds into my home. And I've actually been a little bit more diligent the past 2 years in making more of a distinct divide between my work and my home. My first year of teaching, I got a crash course in student boundaries because I just didn't have any. I was so excited to be teaching and I was enjoying the students so much. But then we would come home and there would be people watching TV in our living room. That was a really common occurrence. It's like, number one, how did you get in? Number two, did you just come in our house? Okay, and you're watching TV. So after that, started to develop more boundaries. And, you know, kind of my go-to just with students in my home life is to say, like, you can knock on my door. It doesn't mean I'm going to answer.
Yeah.
Like, you can, it's
I
fine.
like that.
Like, it doesn't mean I'm going to answer. And it's all very much about how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, if I need to unwind, if I need to go dark and recharge, which is normally what happens. So, and also because I'm married and I want to have a successful marriage and I want to show my husband that I care about him and give him attention. And so I think you have to shut out one part in order to focus on the other. So they're not competing. So that's something that, you know, you just do and you have to, and you find, you know, ways and time to do that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. All right, Danara, thank you for taking your time out of the day to be here. Keep an eye out for another episode on another Enneagram type on the Papyrus. Thank you for listening to the ABP Podcast.